Hazelight Studios' first game was called Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I've played it and it was in many ways a very typical indie game. It had mediocre graphics, simple yet gimmicky gameplay, and a fairly boring story. It tried to be something unique, but the low production value, the simple gameplay, and the very boring story just didn't work for me. I know there are people who have enjoyed it and I respect that, but I was clearly not one of them. So needless to say, I was not holding my breath for their second game. Enter A Way Out. I won't lie to you, as soon as I've heard that it will be a co-op game, the game had my attention. I'm a team player, so co-op games are my favorite ones. A quick look at a gameplay video showed me all I needed to know in order to get it. Not only is it a co-op game, but it even features split screen. This reminds me of the good old days where most games had it and it was great fun. Not only that, but it was also a more affordable version of multiplayer. If you have a large enough monitor and a strong enough PC, you can even enjoy it without any drawbacks, simply because a giant screen cut into two looks like two average screens. The game renders beautifully and is very well optimized so that the split screen is not very taxing on your computer. Not only that, but it also recognizes your PS4 gamepad and will even offer the QTE prompts with the proper PS4 layout. I'm only mentioning this because most games simply treat the PlayStation 4 gamepad on the PC as an Xbox gamepad and offer Xbox prompts, which can be very annoying. A Way Out follows the story of two men who are imprisoned and wish to escape in order to take revenge on the man responsible for their incarceration. Judging by the name only, you would assume that the whole game is about the prison break, when that part of the game is in fact only a third of it. It starts slowly and will at first seem as simplistic as a Telltale game where you are essentially only along for the ride but have no control at all. Luckily, while the game does rely heavily on quick time events, it is actually a series of minigames which drive the story forward and even feature some third-person shooting in its last segment. Games of this kind are usually carried by their good story, which keeps the player interested, simply because the gameplay tends to be repetitive and boring. A Way Out offers a good story, and this does help at first while things are slow in terms of gameplay, but as you progress you will find out that the developers have been extremely creative and managed to provide a wide variety of things you can do within the framework of the game itself. As I advanced through the story, I kept expecting things to get boring, but was constantly entertained by the many ways in which the game would change and offer new things to do. One moment you are sneaking past guards, the next one you are paddling in a crazy river scene, then you have a chase sequence with excellent camera work. And I'm only counting a few of the different things that happen. It just never gets repetitive and boring. You're entertained from start to finish. At some point the game actually asks you to choose what approach would be best, and while there are no wrong answers here, each option is quite unique, giving the game somewhat of a replayability value addition. The game is designed very well, and in some situations it is mandatory for both players to cooperate and sync up in order to achieve the success that is desired. On a technical level, the game looks and runs very well. It supports ultra-wide resolutions with extreme aspect ratios such as 21:9 and 32:9. I've read that it also supports HDR, but one has to tweak some setting files and I was too lazy to do it, so I never got a chance to experience that game's hidden yet possible HDR. This is where I wonder why it isn't simply possible within the game's settings menu. Why do you have to go that far to activate a feature like that? If it is available, that is. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it doesn't work that well. There has to be a reason, but this happens all the time. We see developers just creating settings that they hide, and it takes a bit of work for you to enable them, and usually they actually end up working pretty well, so I don't know what the problem is. The story of the game is interesting and unfolds with a very good pace. You never feel like it was forced or rushed. The relationship between both characters is also developed in a very organic way. It starts up as something motivated by mutual interests, but turns into camaraderie as time passes. They're both very different in terms of character and thus see life from very different angles. This is a smart move from the developers because it creates the options for very different approaches when it comes to how certain objectives are to be tackled. One of them is a tactician, calm and collected, while the other one is a shoot first and ask questions later kind of guy. The game has two problems which I want to address, however. The main one manifests itself especially prominently in the segments within the prison. It's the fact that everything seems way too orchestrated. As soon as the protagonists hit a dead end, there is a convenient solution in front of their noses. This repeats in pretty much every segment, but it is way worse within the prison. Here are a few examples. At one point, they reach a part where they actually have to descend into a deep hole, And in order to do that, they realize that next to them there is a laundry room from where they can steal sheets and make a rope. In another case, they reach another dark hole. This one's really dark, so they find a flashlight within the same room where the hole is so that they can progress further. I won't lie to you, this does kill a lot of the immersion and suspense which could be created within such a scenario, but luckily the game remains interesting and fun. I'm especially grateful that the developers have decided to omit any kind of repetitive actions. For example, the game transitions from one scene of sneaking within the prison to another where they are in a laundry room about to steal some sheets. No need for the player to sneak back to the cells before the new day is initiated. It's clear that repetitive actions can pad a game and create the feeling of longer gameplay, but the devs have made a conscious decision here to sacrifice that in favor of consumer comfort, and I applaud them for that. It's not every day that a game respects my time like this. Now let me tell you about my second gripe. It is the game's ending. I can't go into too many details, but I didn't like it. It's one of those endings where you can think of many other ways the story could have ended that would work better, but at least it's not as bad as the third Mass Effect game. As a matter of fact, some people love it, but I fail to see the logic in it. It is one of the cases where I wish the possibility to choose what approach is best would have been presented here too. Let me just say that while I didn't like it, that doesn't mean that it's terrible. It simply means that it could have been even better and more logical, more in tune with how the story had progressed so far. Since the game is so reliant on its story, I can't tell you much about it without spoiling something, so this review will be a short one. A Way Out was a huge surprise to me and a positive one at that. The gameplay was varied and entertaining, the story was great, the game is optimized well, and it even features split screen, which is not only a fun thing but also a great way to share the game with someone while only having to buy one copy of it. Last but not least, the game is currently sold in Origin for only $30, making it a bargain. I spent more on games that were less fun than this one, let me tell you that. Hazelight Studios have clearly come a long way from the first game, and I can't wait to see what they will develop next. I can recommend this game to pretty much everyone, except those who are primarily looking for a challenge. This is just not what this game is about. Give it a shot if you haven't, I can recommend it. Thanks for watching and have a great day.